Hey FPV pilots, it's Smooth Virus, call sign Virus. And we're going to take a look at this DVR recording I made yesterday, flying the Pitlab OSD in autopilot and using the route mode, which I have not tried before. So what we're seeing here is I've activated the autopilot, and by sliding the throttle stick to the middle position, the Pitlab will start following the route which I had previously programmed using my laptop. We're just taking a look down to make sure the HD camera is recording, and it's working, so we're good to go there. Now over in the lower right, you'll see that we're about 1,700 feet from the starting position of the route that we're going to fly. I set it to start above that church that you just saw go by down there. So now we're about 1,000 feet away. And you'll see also that the OSD is rendering the route on the screen. And it kind of draws it sort of like a GPS unit that you would have in your car. So I think it's kind of rendering it like as if you were looking down on it at kind of a 45-degree angle. So we've reached the start point for the route we're going to fly today. When you create a route on your laptop in the FPV Manager software, the start point is going to be an icon that looks like a little house, a little greenhouse. And over in the lower right, you can see that we're counting down, we're just over 6,000 feet away from the next vertex in the route. Routes are a little bit different in that instead of using waypoints, it's vertexes. So that is, well, now we're about 5,000 feet away from the next vertex. And what we're going to do is you're going to see a little lake on the right and a radio antenna on the left. We're just going to kind of fly in between the lake and the radio antenna, and I've programmed the route to kind of fly around the radio antenna and then start back towards home. By now, you've probably noticed that the plane is getting jostled around a bit. That's just from the wind. I recorded this on kind of a windy and blustery day, but it worked out really well. It shows that the autopilot can handle that. Winds are probably gusting to 18 miles an hour or so, so that's pretty good. I'm quite satisfied with how it handled the blustery and windy conditions. And here you can see how the OSD is rendering the route, and you can see the curve where we're going to go around the radio antenna. Just taking a look down at that little lake down there. Looks a little murky today. And if you look in the upper left part of the screen, right beneath the timer, you can see the autopilot is flying the route, and it's now flying towards Vertex 2. There are a total of 9 vertexes for this flight plan, and we just reached Vertex 3 with 1,000 feet to go to the next one. So since we're just kind of along for the ride here, I'm pointing the camera at the antenna as we fly around it. We're getting a little bit of interference on our video feed here, and I usually get some interference at this area, probably coming from the antenna itself. And we've completed the turn around the antenna and started back south toward home point. And now you can see this is what it looks like in the FPV Manager software when you create a route. It's very easy to do. You just create the route in FPV Manager while looking at Google Maps imagery, and then you can upload it to the OSD using a USB cable connected to your laptop. This was actually the first time I'd ever flown a route using Pitlab, and it worked remarkably well. Absolutely no problems whatsoever, even on a windy day. And now we're flying the final segment of this 9-segment route in Pitlab. This is a pretty simple route, just to test out the function. You can actually program up to 127 segments in a route. However, to keep the screen clear and display only relevant information, you'll only see 4 consecutive segments on the OSD screen at any time. To use routes in Pitlab, there are 3 steps. First, specific individual routes need to be defined using a PC. Then these definitions need to be loaded into the OSD. And finally, during flight, a predefined route needs to be activated. So the route that we're flying right now, I actually activated it while we were on the ground before I took off. And once I climbed up to altitude, I just turned the autopilot on and moved the throttle to the middle position to tell Pitlab to go ahead and fly the route. So we've reached the end of the route at the final vertex, and what happens now is the autopilot will put the plane into a loiter around the end of the route. So that's it. We just flew a simple route autonomously using the Pitlab OSD and autopilot. And you can store up to 10 different routes in the OSD and activate them in flight. Well, that's it for now. I hope you enjoyed flying with me, and hopefully we all learned something about using routes with Pitlab. I know I certainly did, and I intend to do more with it soon. Feel free to ask any questions that you have in the comments section, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability. Once again, thanks for watching, and if you liked what you see here, be sure to give it a thumbs up. And if you want to see more from Rogue Squadron FPV, click the subscribe button and follow along on my adventure in flying first-person view. Everybody, you have a fine one. Later.